James Comey's statement on Tuesday, the GOP released a video which showcases the FBI's direct findings of what the Republican National Committee calls top Hillary lies. Take a listen.
I thought it would be easier to carry just one device for my work and for my personal emails instead of two.
Secretary Clinton used several different servers and administrators of those servers during her 4 years at the State Department. She also used numerous mobile devices to send and to read email on that personal domain.
Joining us right now is the author of Clinton Cash. He's also the executive producer of the Clinton Cash documentary, Peter Schweizer. Peter, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Maria. Great to be on.
And your book, #1 on the bestseller list. Obviously, this book is resonating with people. What can you tell us that you believe is the most important or most damning evidence of Clinton Cash and lies in your book?
Well, I think it's follow the money, the oldest adage in politics, but in this case it's foreign money. I look to the uranium deal, whereby the State Department under Hillary Clinton approved the transfer of 20% of uranium to the Russian government through a small Canadian company, and 8 shareholders in that company just happened to send $145 million to the Clinton Foundation. But Maria, overall, it's the pattern of behavior. Every time that there's a decision that's made by Hillary Clinton, there seems to be and appears to be money associated from an interested party that ends up in the Clintons' pockets one way or the other.
Wow. So what did you make then of Jim Comey's statements? Basically clearing Clinton, and where does that leave the investigation around the foundation in your view?
Well, you know, look, I've always felt that the Clinton Foundation, part of this investigation, which it's unclear right now what the status of that is. I think that will probably come up in the congressional hearing. I've always felt that that was far more important because you're talking about pay to play. And I believe that the reason that they set up this private server and deleted all of these emails is precisely because that communication had something to do with the flow of money. So I'm surprised by the decision. I'm not an attorney, certainly, but it seemed to me that the FBI director, laid out a hugely compelling case of the pattern of deception and lies, and yet at the end sort of said, well, we don't think we can find a prosecutor to prosecute this case.
Extraordinary, Dagan.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms of what we find out from government investigations, anything that is uncovered and revealed about the Clinton Foundation, it will very likely be after the election in November. And that's what is dismaying to so many people.
Well, I think there's probably a good case to be made for that. Look, the investigation on the emails took more than a year. The investigation on the Clinton Foundation is far more complex. You're not just simply looking at certain technical devices and retracing steps electronically and interviewing a few people. The Clinton Foundation investigation is global nature. You're talking about people halfway around the world, in some cases government officials that don't want to be cooperative. So unfortunately, that's my concern as well, that this investigation is going to drag on well past November.
You talked about how, you know, Comey really laid out a clear case about the emails, but then didn't recommend indictment. You know, it came really down to whether it was a willful mishandling of classified information and if that could actually be proven was the issue. And you're saying that this Russian uranium deal really needs to be investigated, but do you see this is something where they could actually find a smoking gun if they couldn't even when there was technical information interviews involving the Clinton email scandal?
Well, yes, there's a lot of legal questions swirling around this, but here's what we know. In the recent political prosecutions related to pay-to-play, whether it's the McDonald case in Virginia, which the Supreme Court just reviewed, whether it's Senator Menendez, you've got a former governor down in Alabama, they were prosecuted on a pattern of behavior, money flowing to them that in many cases they could legally get, but then favors done in return on their behalf. I think in the case of the Clintons, that pattern is far more established than it was in any of these other cases. And then the question, of course, becomes, and this is lurking in the headlines, is do the Clintons get to play by a different set of rules than everyone else? In the email server case, you know, that's what a lot of people are saying, that, look, if this had been somebody with a last name other than Clinton, had been a mid-level government employee, they'd have the book thrown at them. The question now goes to the Clinton Foundation and pay-to-play. Do they get to take in money and do favors in return in a way that would send other political figures to jail? And that's, of course, the open question.
Morgan?
Yeah, but Peter, you've done a lot of research on this. If she's elected president in November, whoever her appointee is will be the head of the Department of Justice. So how is the FBI going to continue the investigation into Mrs. Clinton and her husband if she's the sitting president?
No, that's the great question, and that's the problem. You know, in the past, whether to the years or the Clinton years, you've had this creature, the independent counsel that Congress empowered to investigate. We may be in that kind of scenario because, look, I mean, the Clintons have a history and a past going back to the 1990s or even just looking at the email server of not being honest, not cooperating with investigators, sort of obscuring their trail or trying to obscure their trail. So I think, look, the integrity of an FBI investigation into the Clinton Foundation with Hillary Clinton in the West Wing is not an investigation a lot of people would have confidence would actually go forward in any coherent way. So I think we could potentially be looking at an independent counsel investigating these matters that has the power and the authority and is not, you know, part of the executive branch under the control of the president.
Or the voters will decide come November, given what we know. So how do you think this plays out, Peter?
I think it plays out in a large way. I mean, look, you've got basically 70% of the American people saying they don't think she's honest and trustworthy. Certainly the revelations that came out on the server and the numerous deceptions and lies that came from Hillary Clinton and her camp is only going to fuel that. The question is, of course, are people going to vote at the end of the day in large numbers for or against somebody based on how honest they think they are? And I think, you know, that's an open question.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Peter, good to talk with you as always. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Maria.
Peter Schweizer.